Average Dude has something to say about...
Everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to discuss something that I've actually wanted to talk about for a while and never got around to. Now's a perfect time. I don't see what I'm about to talk about discussed online at all, and I'm kind of wondering why. For those that aren't familiar with the Western world or what's going on in the West, a whole lot has changed ever since the global economy and the information age. We have some serious role reversals as far as the genders and who does what. And not because we were looking to feel each other's pain, but because businesses, as far as the West and capitalism, have been allowed to go. They've been allowed to run roughshod and buy out their politicians, buy the rules, make everything what they want, and it screws everybody. Now, what's happened is, thanks to the global economy crisis of 2008, there's a lot of out-of-work males in the United States and in the Western world. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a whole bunch of out-of-work ladies out there because a whole bunch of jobs just went overseas to China and now India because China is raising their standards and now greedy business jackasses are taking the jobs from China and sending them to India, and only a few come back to the United States. Way to go. But bottom line is this. There's a lot of women that are now the breadwinners of the household, and the men are the Mr. Moms because of this. Because women still, first of all, there are laws that protect them more so than men. Affirmative action and sexism favors women more so than the guys when it comes to who gets to keep the job. Employers are going to want to avoid any potential lawsuits and, oh, we can get away with cutting the guys, no problem. So you have a lot of guys cut, and this is not even really good for the women or anybody in the West. Because even now, still, after all this time, women are getting paid less than the guys for the same amount of work. So if it's the wife who's working now and the husband's out of work, they didn't just simply switch places. It's less money because the man who would have otherwise had more money for the same job, that job is now in the hands of the female who's getting paid less. And this affects the whole household of that female worker. So, what does this all mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means. We are in a very unique time period here for the United States of America and the West, because both genders are more and more starting to feel each other's pain. Again, not because we were looking to truly discover what it's like to be on the other side of the argument, but because businesses have dictated this. The global market has dictated this. Made it absolutely clear, no, we're going to cut corners no matter what, and you're just going to have to face the consequences. So Americans are trying to adapt. You have a whole bunch of, I'll tell you what, 2008, how many of you guys out there that were lucky enough to keep your job and stressing, how many of you had a whole bunch of friends, guys that were out of work? I'll tell you what, in the city here, in 2008, 2009, 2010, I'll tell you what, all of a sudden, you saw so many men out front doing yard work because they were so bored they wanted something to do. They were used to working, their pride was stripped from them, and they wanted to have a purpose, and they felt so, and talk about being castrated, if they were lucky, their wives were working, and that meant role reversal. Feel bad for the women, because for the first time in the United States, in the history of the United States, the women are feeling the entire they're feeling the entire weight, the entire burden of financially holding everything up. They didn't have to do that before. I mean, during World War II, the guys were out, dying for their country. Now, the guys don't have anything. They don't even have that. They don't have anything to do. So the moms are out there, the wives, working, and they are feeling the full weight. So it's no longer choice. This is why Ann Romney really made Mitt Romney lose a whole bunch of support among women, because she's, it's a choice to be a house mom. Well, I'll tell you what, a whole lot of women out there in the United States and the West, it's not choice. It was not choice for them, because with their husbands and their men out of work, they had to hold everything up to put food on the table and keep the roof over the head for them, for their husbands, for their children. And, well, ladies, welcome to what men dealt with for all those decades. Not so fun, is it? It's not about feeling empowered. No, it's a huge burden, and women are finally facing that. And guys, feel bad for the guys, because we still expect men to pay for things. We judge them by how deep their pockets are and how they can support and provide for the family. And now they're absolutely castrated. And nobody's talking about the dads and the guys that are out of work, and through no fault of their own, simply because jobs cut and sent overseas, corner cuts to maximize profits. So many men in the United States out of work, and they are forced to become Mr. Moms. Anybody remember that movie, Mr. Mom, back in the 80s with Michael Keaton? That's a reality now here in the United States. For a lot of men still, even in 2013, it is a reality. And Tony Danza, who's the boss? Samantha, Angela, Mona. That's a reality now. There is a lot of that. And I'll tell you what, these guys are looking for a purpose. And I guarantee you that these are the men who absolutely hate and despise when you go out in public and you meet new people. I'm sure they don't like it, because what's the question that they get faced with? And what do you do? Wow. That is a question that a lot of men in the United States hate, because they are they're still being judged on what they do for money. And if they're out of work through no fault of their own, busting their butts trying to find work, the full-time job with overtime hours looking for work that doesn't pay, where you have to actually pay to look for a job, it's ridiculous. And on top of that, what's good is they are learning, men are learning finally what it's like to take care of the house. You don't have a set schedule. You don't have that convenience. Your work schedule revolves around the rest of the household. That is what it's like to be the house husband or person or wife, whatever. You have to cook and prepare everything, the meals, clean, get the kids ready, and this and that, and of course still do the yard work and take care of things around the house. But then I imagine that these men feel so stir crazy. They're not making money, so they're probably ashamed to even ask their wives for any kind of money, and so they're constantly stuck at home, bored out of their minds, absolutely wanting to go out into the world and do things again, and feeling like their wings have been clipped. This is a very, very interesting time in the history of this country. Why are we not talking about this? Everybody, I feel for your pain. Ladies, those of you who have realized that it is such a burden to feel the entire full amount of responsibility and accountability, financially speaking, if things falter. And if something happens to your job, that complete and total paralyzing fear. And the resentment that you feel when you go to work and your husband's still laying in bed. I get that. I get that. And guys, those of you that are out of work, they're going through all this. The judgment. And what do you do? And having to suck up the humility. And I think I get that too. I feel for you all. This is a huge transition in the history of this part of the world. And we're not talking about it. And it's about damn time that we do. Everybody, feel free to comment. Take care.